Something is shifting in the Bears' receiving room, and the next few months could bring changes that redefine how this offense operates under Ben Johnson. The dynamics we're seeing right now, the personnel decisions being made, the underlying tension that's been impossible to ignore, they're all pointing toward a reality that seemed unthinkable just a year ago. Welcome to Bears News Fan Report, where you get the unfiltered truth about our Chicago Bears, the breaking developments, the strategic analysis, and the insider perspective you won't find anywhere else. This is your home for everything Bears, and I promise you what we're diving into today could be the most significant story of this entire offseason. Let me set the stage for you because understanding where we are requires looking at how we got here. The Bears' passing attack was supposed to take a massive leap forward this season with Caleb Williams under center and a talented receiving corps supporting him. DJ Moore was positioned as the #1 option, a proven veteran with the speed and route running ability to be a legitimate weapon in any offense. Rome Odunze came in as a high draft pick with enormous potential. The foundation seemed solid, the pieces appeared to fit, and expectations were sky-high across the entire organization and fan base. But football rarely goes according to script, and this season has exposed some uncomfortable truths about how this offense functions and who fits best within Ben Johnson's scheme. The loss to Green Bay back in Week 14 crystallized everything that's been bubbling beneath the surface. Moore caught one pass for -4 yards in that game, one reception, negative yardage. For a player of his caliber, those numbers are almost incomprehensible, especially considering Odunze missed that contest with an injury, which theoretically should have meant more opportunities for Moore. The visuals from that game told the story even more vividly than the statistics. Moore on the sideline, helmet off, frustration written all over his face after Williams threw that critical 4th down interception in the red zone. The body language was unmistakable. The disconnect was obvious, and suddenly the whole league was talking about chemistry issues between Chicago's quarterback and his supposed top receiver. Moore believed he had come open on that play, believed Williams should have found him, believed the interception was avoidable if the read had been different. Johnson addressed it publicly the next day, explaining that Moore wasn't the answer on that particular play, that he came open after the ball had already been released. The coach also expressed surprise at Moore's lack of production, admitting they had planned to feature him more than perhaps any other offensive player in that game. The intent was there, but the execution never materialized, and that gap between plan and reality has become a recurring theme this season. Here's what the numbers tell us. Moore is tracking toward career lows in both receptions and receiving yards this year. This isn't a minor dip in production. This is a significant decline for a player who's been consistently productive throughout his NFL career. And it's not happening because Moore suddenly forgot how to play receiver or lost a step athletically. It's happening because Johnson's offensive philosophy doesn't naturally align with Moore's skill set and playing style. Johnson loves 12 personnel groupings with 2 tight ends on the field. He emphasizes the running game, building his attack around a strong ground presence that sets up everything else. When he does throw, he's looking for specific route concepts and timing that fit his system, not necessarily plays designed to maximize any individual receiver's strengths. It's a sound approach that's proven successful elsewhere, but it requires receivers who can thrive within that structure, who don't need the ball in their hands 15 times a game to stay engaged and effective. Now here's where things get really interesting for the future of this franchise. Moore has a 4-year contract extension worth $110 million that kicks in next season. That's a massive financial commitment to a player who appears increasingly disconnected from what this offense wants to do. Chicago could trade him this offseason and save $24. $5 million against the cap in each of the next 4 years, taking on only $4 million in dead cap hits for the next 3 seasons. From a pure financial flexibility standpoint, moving Moore would give the Bears enormous resources to address other positions where they desperately need upgrades. The offensive line needs reinforcement. The pass rush could use another elite edge defender. There are multiple areas where that cap space could be deployed to build a more complete roster around Caleb Williams. And here's the critical point that changes everything. Odunze has shown in his second year that he has genuine WR1 potential. He's developing chemistry with Williams, he fits what Johnson wants to do schematically, and he's only going to get better as he gains experience and confidence in this system. So if Chicago can get fair value for Moore, if they can recoup draft capital or package him in a deal that brings back immediate help at another position, and if Odunze is ready to step into that top receiver role, then trading Moore starts to make a lot of strategic sense. But here's the question that keeps me up at night. If you move Moore, do you just ride with Odunze as your clear number one and fill out the depth chart with role players, or do you add another established weapon who can complement what Odunze brings to the table? This is where the conversation gets fascinating, and this is where the Bears' decision-makers need to think creatively about roster construction. Imagine for a moment that Chicago moves Moore and frees up all that cap space. They have resources to spend, they have needs to address, but they also have an opportunity to upgrade the receiving room in a way that makes this offense even more dangerous. And there's a player who could become available this offseason who fits Johnson's system perfectly, who has the physical tools to thrive in Chicago, and who comes from a situation that might make him obtainable at a reasonable cost. Christian Watson of the Green Bay Packers. Yes, I said it. A receiver from our biggest rival potentially wearing the navy and orange. Before you dismiss this as fantasy, hear me out, because the pieces of this puzzle actually fit together in ways that make genuine sense. Watson is a physical specimen at 6'4", with legitimate deep speed and the ability to win contested catches. He's spent his entire career so far in the NFC North, he understands the division, he knows the defenses, and he's proven he can produce when healthy and given opportunities. The Packers are facing their own roster decisions this offseason, and Watson's injury history, combined with the emergence of other receivers in Green Bay, means he might not be untouchable. If Chicago approached them with the right offer, if the compensation was fair, if Watson expressed interest in a fresh start with a young quarterback and a coach who could feature him prominently, this isn't as crazy as it sounds on the surface. Divisional trades are rare, but they happen when the value makes sense for both sides. Think about what Watson would bring to this Bears offense. He's exactly the type of receiver who thrives in play-action concepts, which Johnson loves to call. His size and speed create vertical threats that force safeties to respect the deep ball, opening up underneath routes for Odunze and the tight ends. His ability to block in the run game would be valuable in an offense that wants to establish physicality. And most importantly, he's entering a stage of his career where he needs to prove he can stay healthy and produce consistently, which means he'd come to Chicago hungry to make a statement. Let me break down the financial reality of how this could work. If the Bears trade Moore and save that $5 million, they could sign Watson to a reasonable deal that fits under the freed-up space while still having resources left over to address other positions. You're essentially swapping one talented receiver for another while improving the overall roster balance. Watson wouldn't command the same contract Moore is carrying, especially given his injury concerns, so Chicago would actually gain flexibility even while upgrading the positional fit. From a schematic standpoint, Watson and Odunze would be a complementary pairing that gives Williams diverse weapons to work with. Odunze excels at intermediate routes and creating separation through precise technique. Watson provides the downfield threat and contested catchability that stretches defenses vertically. Together, they'd force opposing coordinators to pick their poison, deciding whether to play deep safeties to help over the top or bring them into the box to stop the run. Knowing either choice creates opportunities for big plays. I know what some of you are thinking. Can we really trust Watson to stay healthy? Fair question, and it's the biggest risk in this entire proposition. He's dealt with injuries throughout his career, and availability is the most important ability in the NFL. But here's my counter-argument. You're not betting the entire franchise on Watson. You're adding him as a high-upside piece to an offense that already has foundation players in place. If he stays healthy, you've got a legitimate 1-2 punch at receiver that can carry this offense for years. If he misses time, Odunze is still your number one, and you fill in with depth pieces that fit the scheme. There's also the psychological element to consider. Bringing in a player from Green Bay, especially one who's caught passes against us and understands what makes the Packers successful, sends a message to the entire locker room. It shows that management is serious about building a winner, that they're willing to make bold moves, that they're not afraid to think outside the box when it comes to constructing the roster. That kind of mentality can change the culture of an organization, and culture is what separates good teams from great ones. The timing of all this matters tremendously. The offseason is when these types of moves happen, when teams reassess their rosters, when difficult decisions get made about players and contracts. If Chicago is serious about pursuing Watson, they need to start laying the groundwork now, having conversations with Green Bay, gauging the level of interest, understanding what the cost would be in terms of draft picks or players. These negotiations take time. They require trust between organizations, and they demand creativity in structuring deals that work for everyone involved. I'm genuinely excited about the possibility here, not because I want to see more leave Chicago, but because I want to see this offense reach its full potential with Caleb Williams running the show. If Watson gives us a better chance to do that, if he fits what Johnson wants to do schematically, if the finances work and the deal can be made, then this is exactly the type of aggressive roster management that championship organizations employ. You identify needs, you find solutions, you make tough calls, even when they're uncomfortable. The Bears are building something special here, and I truly believe we're closer to contending than a lot of people realize. We have a franchise quarterback. We have a creative offensive mind calling plays. We have young talent developing across the roster. What we need now is that final push, those key additions that turn a good team into a great one, that transform potential into performance. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Let's have a real conversation about the future of this franchise. If you're not already subscribed to Bears News Fan Report, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown like this. We're covering every development, every potential move, every strategic decision that impacts this team. Share this video with other Bears fans who need to understand what might be coming this offseason, and let's build this community into the go-to source for intelligent Bears analysis. Your engagement matters. Your support makes this possible. So like, comment, subscribe, and let's keep growing together. This is Bears News Fan Report, and I'll be here bringing you the truth about our Chicago Bears every single day. Stay locked in, stay informed, and most importantly, Bear down.